I think we have a forum.
Yes.
My name's Frank Holden, for those of you who don't know, I'm gonna try to play like Alex Ken, but I'm nowhere near as skilled as he is at remembering all the details about what's gone on for the last 20 years in fiscal advisor. So I'll do my best. If you find that there's a problem, please speak up. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Act of 2023, this meeting will be conducted in person and via remote means in accordance with applicable law. Every effort will be made to ensure the public can adequately access the proceedings to the best of our technical ability. And despite our best efforts due to lack of technical infrastructure, a transcript or other comprehensive record of proceedings will be available as soon as it is possible after the meeting. Pretty good. Thank you all for coming. I don't think that Joanne is going to show up because most of her requests are in out fiscal years, not this fiscal year. There's 2 pending requests in there, and we'll start with Chief Carbone. Please.
Sure.
Take the lead.
All right, well, starting with capital. There's 2 items, and the one that's always there every year is the police cruisers. Every year is 3 police cruisers, 3 cruisers in, 3 cruisers out. This year, we're proposing the purchase of 1 Ford PPV vehicle, which is a police pursuit vehicle, and 2 Chevy Tahoe's PPV vehicles. Just to give you a little background, Ford stopped manufacturing the hybrids. So they claim that in 2025, they are going to start making them again or start producing them again. However, they are saying it, they're advertising it, but there's no date on it. And with the hybrids that we've had now, we've had a lot of issues with them. A lot of issues that were warranty work, thankfully. However, the issues were pretty serious, and it involved the hybrid system itself. Ford stopped producing them because there was so many issues, and they wanted to revamp the whole hybrid system, which they claim they are doing, and they claim that they'll have the vehicle out in 2025, but we don't know if that's true. In fact, the Ford that we are putting in for is just a regular standard 6-cylinder police pursuit vehicle. The Tahoes, however, you get a more bang for your buck because they're 4-wheel drive, they're a bigger vehicle. They can be used as hand-me-downs to the beach or anything like that, but the cost difference is, between $9,000 actually between the Ford and the Tahoes. There's a cost difference, but you do get a lot more for your money with the Tahoe.
And then the ability to go on the beach.
Yeah, and then the ability to go on the beach. That is one of the main flaws with the Fords. Then they're all-wheel drive and they're low. You can't go on the beach with them, period. And as far as in storms and stuff in the winter, they're average. They're not that great. The Tahoes and the pickup trucks that we have are fantastic. We use those during the winter storms.
So what is the life cycle cost between the 2 vehicles? I mean,
So about the same. The Tahoes seem to be built better. I think there has been some issues with the Tahoes. There was an issue. The Tahoes come with a dual battery system. And there was an issue with the batteries actually exploding in them several years ago because they were overcharging. System couldn't figure out which batteries. Chevy has since fixed that problem. Other issues that we've had with the Tahoes have been little things here and there, mostly warranty work, thankfully. The Fords, on the other hand, we've had issues with water pumps. We've had issues with transmission, front end work, and it seems like with the Fords, every time there's work to be done to them, most of the time they have to go to the dealership because of this. They have to dismantle the vehicle. Unbelievable. A water pump, they have to take the whole front of the vehicle off to get at the water pump. With the Chevys, it doesn't seem that's the way. It seems that they, can work on it like an old style vehicle. It just seems that there's more labor intense hours with the Ford. But, like I said, I think And you see a lot of Tahoes and other departments and stuff, and simply because I think you get more for your money, Tahoe.
So would you prefer 3 Tahoes?
No, and I tell you why, because I like to have a mixed fleet, because some offices don't like the Tahoes, and some offices like the Fords. So we have more Fords than we have anything else. Some offices like the pickup trucks, so we only have a couple of pickup trucks. So, and the pickup trucks actually have a huge benefit, storms, putting back there, sawhorses.
So it's
homes,
helpful for the department
Apartments,
to
yes.
have a
But
variety.
as far as, yes, it is.
Utilitarian.
Yeah, because you do have a lot of different offices that don't like the Tahoes because they're maybe too big, or they don't like the turning on the pickup trucks. That's an issue with the pickup trucks. Ford's been making the police pursuit vehicle
Right.
for a long time. They claim in 2025 that they've done a lot of restyling to it, which could be an issue too. As you know, if they're gonna come out with a new hybrid in 2025 revamped, I don't know if we should,
Wait a year.
yeah,
Right,
because I have
yeah.
a feeling
Right, because they might not have worked out the bugs, because clearly they had bugs in the other
they
one.
had some serious ones.
Do you have any EVs now?
Yes,
Yeah, or pardon me, already hybrids, I should say.
Yeah.
And how many do you have in the fleet now? Cause they'll rotate out too, at some,
yes.
especially when you're not.
We
getting
only
used.
have like 4.
Yeah, I was about to say, there wasn't a lot, there wasn't a huge number of them, I just didn't know how many
Yes.
of them had been.
Every single one of
rotated
them
out.
has had major work done to them.
Really?
From Ford.
Yeah, still under warranty,
Yes.
but, yeah, okay.
And now the warranty with the hybrids is pretty good because it's a 10-year warranty. And we won't have it for 10 years, but they do at least give you extended warranties on the
Yeah.
hybrids, which is a good thing. However, it's costly when a vehicle's down. When we have a vehicle goes to the dealership and it sits there for weeks
Yeah.
because they can't fix it like right away, or the back parts are backordered, or whatever the case may be. That's kind of,
Tough on the department.
It is.
Yeah.
It puts more mileage
Right,
on the
right.
vehicles.
Right.
and get it on.
Change the
So-
schedule.
I can echo what the chief's saying. Our fleet manager, same thing, moving away from the hybrids because of the difficulty. So everybody's feeling that, and it's too bad because it was such a great hope and expectation on idle time and everything else, but they're just not there yet. And so, yeah, I've heard the exact same thing. Chief, what's the composition of your fleet now? Because you're saying you have some pickups, you have some SUVs, you have some. Do you kind of know how that breaks out? Like how many trucks, how many SUVs, and how many plane cruisers?
Well, we have 2 pickup trucks, Ford pickup trucks, F-150s. We have. I don't know the exact number of Fords, mostly Fords compared to the Tahoes. I think the Tahoes may have, what, 4 Tahoes and the rest are Fords. So that would leave us with maybe 7 or 8 Fords. Something to that effect. I could be
And are
off.
the Tahoes pretty much assigned to command staff?
No, they're patrol. There are some Tahoes assigned to command staff, but those are unmarked. The marked units, which I'm talking about, that's what I'm proposing here tonight, are patrol vehicles. So the
Okay.
Tahoes we're talking about are patrol vehicles. When we purchase a command vehicle, it's not a pursuit vehicle, it's more of an administrative package. So it's a different vehicle, it's actually a little bit less money, but it's not a patrol package, which you have to purchase, if you're going to use a vehicle for patrol, it has to be a patrol pursuit vehicle. We call it pursuit vehicle. I don't necessarily like that term, but it has to be the police package, because not only is the suspension, it goes on and on about the cooling system, the battery system, and so on and so forth, the interior of it, and so on and so forth. And it also, when you talk about insurance wise, and I can't really explain this in detail, but if you have a vehicle used for patrol, you have to make sure that it's equipped for patrol.
Mm-hmm. So this is a naive question, but Tahoe's a big vehicle. And so is there advantage, like you said, it was great on mileage and this and that, but is there advantage of having a patrol vehicle of that size versus having like your traditional cruiser size?
So there isn't any sedans really anymore as far as cruisers go. I think Dodge makes the Challenger, a Charger rather, that's it, but we're not interested in that, but as everything seems to be SUVs now. In this day and age, the amount of equipment that is in these cruisers is just unbelievable. They are packed. We put huge cargo boxes in the back. They're packed. They have everything you can imagine.
Prisoner compartment.
Oh, the prisoner compartment. That's another thing, prisoner compartments. In most vehicles, if you get a compact vehicle, you're not gonna be able to get somebody in there. The way they're designed today. So a lot of that goes into play. I think for the most part, the Tahoes are the larger vehicle. But in a lot of ways, they're not that big, they're still very user friendly as far as going on side streets and whatnot. Another thing that Chevy's coming out with is the Blazer. They claim that, now, this hasn't happened anytime soon, but they're hoping in 2025 to come out with a police vehicle that's the Blazer. Which is technically like a smaller Tahoe. So we're gonna we'll probably look into those eventually too, see what they have to offer.
Didn't you mention also, when we, with our discussion, the 8-cylinder versus in the.
Yeah, so-
In the,
Yep.
in the, fuel efficiency of the fact that it can operate on 6 cylinders, but then kick into 8 cylinders when necessary.
Right, so the Chevy Tahoe, they use an engine, which is an Eco Tech 3 engine. And they've been using this engine since 2014 in the police vehicles. And the way it's designed is that when the vehicle isn't under a demand to move, it can kick down the cylinders and it's controlled. I read a little bit about it today and it's controlled by the fuel that goes to the cylinders and, and it controls how much the engine's running. It kind of down cycles itself. When it's not under demand, in other words, idling or just putting around town.
Yeah.
So they claim that their gas mileage is just as equal to the Ford 6-cylinder, and they put an 8-cylinder.
Yeah, and that's good to know, just considering it is a bigger vehicle, and it is good to know that there are some, energy efficiency measures that are in this Tahoe deal.
And the one good thing about it is there is a lot of competition going on right now between Ford and Chevy with these vehicles. Because Ford's trying to outprove Chevy and Chevy's trying to outprove Ford. So that's a good thing for all of us.
Right.
And you want to keep it somewhat uniform so that, the officers have that muscle memory of. They're
Yeah,
not getting into several different vehicles and they don't know where X, Y, and Z is, so if they're trying to focus on, a pursuit or responding quickly to a call. They don't wanna be monkeying around and having to take their eyes off the road to figure out where things are.
Do all those Tahoes get passed down?
they can, absolutely.
Yeah, 'cause it's kind of more bang for your buck if it's getting passed down.
Absolutely, and I've talked to Mary McKinnon about that, and we're gonna do that more, and I think that's worthwhile. Another thing we do, so we started doing last year is, and this helps passing vehicles down, we no longer paint the vehicles come all black. And the doors are skin. They're skin, they put a skin on. And all the lettering is just a skin, so if we pass it down to some other department, you peel it off, and now you get a black vehicle.
Put it on your homecoming.
So that's huge,
Yeah.
and it's cheaper than paint.
Paint.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost a do-it-yourself function.
Kind of, but it's not that easy. Another thing too, just to mention though, the equipment on these vehicles is getting rather expensive.
Yeah,
And,
it's almost half the cost of the vehicle.
yeah, and their packages, like I try to explain a lot of times, you can't say, we're gonna cut this type of lighting over here. It comes as a safety package, like the unit is a package, and nowadays, when you equip a vehicle with lighting, you have to have lighting at all 4 corners of the vehicle. It's gotta be seen going through intersections on the side, the rear, and so on and so forth. So that's all included, and gets costly, and it's just the way it is.
This is priority number one.
Yeah, definitely.
Any other questions from the group on the fleet replacement? How much you're fencing?
So,
Well, I have a command vehicle down here. too.
no, that's not, shouldn't be there.
It's in 76, but it's okay.
Yeah,
I'm gonna remove it.
good, thank you. So the fencing, well, let me start by saying, what I'm about to talk about was originally proposed when the station was built. When the station was built, originally, they had planned and proposed and designed the private employee area with all the cruisers and parked and everything to be fenced in with a 5-foot mini mesh chain link fence all around the outside into like in the wooded area. And then where you would enter into those areas on the employee side, there would be gates. A lot of new departments do this now. A lot of new departments that are being built or departments that are doing it are being built. And it's simply, let's face it, it's not gonna keep everybody out, but it's a security measure because there's a lot of expensive equipment back there. We haven't had any issues other than we have had people back there, have wandered back there for no reason. We've had cars drive back there, just simply didn't know they were locked, they didn't realize they had to park on the other side and come in the front, and they thought they could come in the back. So we decided to propose and, kind of get an estimate of what that would cost us. And I actually printed out kind of where the fencing and the gates would go. So this is the rear. Everybody. This is all.
Sure.
So, as you can see, this is obviously the red is the fencing, and I marked where the security gates are. This is a wooded line in the back of the station. That would be, black mini mesh 5-foot fence, they call it. And we would post no trespassing all along it. And then here would be automated gates with, security fobs, or you can design it so that cruisers automatically have a, electronic
Sensor in it, yeah.
sensor that would open automatically. One thing to note, because I was, kind of set back on the cost of all this, it's quite costly. This could be a 2-year project. It could be broken up where we could do the gates and then we could do the fence at another fiscal year. I just wanted to throw that out there. But I do feel strongly that something like this at some point needs to be done. Because it is an area that there's expensive equipment back there, there's a lot of activity back there, whether it be prisoners going in and out, or, because the Sally Port's right here, so, a lot of times we'll have a prisoner coming in, and if we have a medical with one of the prisoners, the ambulances go back here. And in the past, we've actually had the media. They kind of stage right here trying to peek through the cracks in the. Yeah, the First Amendment auditors, which they like to challenge any area that's not kind of.
What's that dirt lot back there? Is that, you need access to that?
That's the tower. So
Okay,
that, there would probably be a gate
yeah,
that they could drive up to the tower.
Yeah.
We don't go up there. It's actually, is there already a gate there? There's already a gate up there.
Well, up on the access road, but again, anybody could just walk down and
Yes.
get back. People that work back there.
They fenced that in, though. The whole thing is fenced in.
Do you have any signage up now that says employee only?
We do. When you first pull into the employee side lot, there's do not enters, and it says, restricted access, and then just recently, we put up another sign. When you go further down, it just says, stop, do not go beyond this point, restricted access. People don't see that, they just drive right by it,
It'll help you with the First Amendment auditors. I will tell you that. We just went through all of that, and that signage they will respect. So that at least will keep them from videotaping in the back of your lot.
Right. So, like I said, we wanted to propose this and get an estimate together to kind of see where we stand. I know this is obviously one of the things that was cut when the station was built to save a little money. Unfortunately.
Among others.
Among others. Yeah, true.
That value engineering, right?
So
I'd be glad to do
there's
that.
actually two estimates. Altogether, it comes to 132,000. But there's two parts. There's the gate section, which is which is 57,000 and change, and then there's the fencing, which is 74,000 and change, almost 75,000. It would be nice, obviously, to do the whole thing.
Is there any, if you know, we like phasing things because of cash flow.
Mhm.
But are there any risks if you phase it?
Well, there's always the risk of possibly something happening. I think if you told me to phase it, the first thing I would do was the security gates. That's huge. I already have fencing here as last year, I did a capital light item, and I put fencing on there. There used to be, arborvitae's here, they were useless.
They're not gonna stop.
They were not gonna stop anybody, plus the media could peek right through, so we took the arborvitae's and we took them out, we put fencing, solid security fencing. So if I was to do this in phases, I would first start with the gates. Get the gates, at least we can't have vehicles
Yeah,
driving
and
back
that's
here.
like vehicle traffic.
And, you know,
Kids could walk around.
right. They could walk around, but at least I could post it.
It's pretty clear. It's got a big sign, there's a gate.
Right, and my plan is even without the fencing here is to post no trespassing up in the wooded area. I just think I know it doesn't stop people, but at least. Less people?
Right.
That's not for the 70,000, right? The two, I thought 70.
No, the gates,
7.
58 and 75.
yes,
So the gates are 58.
yes.
One question, I have a question. How did you decide on the area to cover? Because I'm looking at all those parking spaces that are taken up. Are some of those just for the staff when they come in to work, or is that?
This
What
whole
would you define as the quote true security area?
would be the employee side and
Employee side?
employees, all employees. This is all public side. This is all public. And if you go across here, this technically is employee side, but we would leave 4 spots here because a lot of times we have other police departments come in and they go in the front because they don't have fobs to get in the building. So they would come in the police side, they could at least park here and walk in the building and have, they want to park their police cruisers on this side instead of the public side, something like that. So.
What's parked in the new overflow parking lot?
That actually happens to be, this must have been taken like in the morning or something, that looks like Eversource or Verizon.
They look like fire engine.
No, I think they're waiting here to go out, a lot of times in the mornings, early in the mornings, they'll park there before they go out to do their jobs, they meet there. Yeah, yeah, they're not there, they're only
I
there,
thought they were maybe gates closed.
no, that's, I'm guessing that's probably Verizon or Eversource. And they're probably meeting there before they go out to a job, that's usually what they do.
And we are gonna have some of the apparatus from DPW parked there.
Yeah.
During the construction of the new DPW bar.
That makes
So
some sense.
that's gonna take up a lot of that parking. For the year, the duration of the building project.
Chief, can I go back on a question? I don't have ClearGov up. Can you tell me, this is going back to your first article, your first request. What's the cost for you on the Tahoe? Each Tahoe? Sorry to do
Each-
that to you, but
Yep,
92,000.
yes, yep,
The Ford's about 82,000.
yep, so there's $10,000 difference. But.
Money doesn't seem to add up. If you take just round figures, it would be 290,000 less than $12 here and $10 there.
that's okay. That you don't have to dig in any deeper. I didn't have ClearGov up, so I didn't have it broken up. I had the total that we got from Adam, which was very helpful, but I wanted clarification on that. And then also, and this is a little off topic, but before you wrap up, I just want to thank you for the work you did with the schools. Because a lot of that came to light last year with some of the things that they were doing and not getting into great detail. just very appreciative of how much time and effort you have put in to collaborate with them and some of the things that have come about because of it. So I just wanted to publicly thank you for that.
Well, welcome, Dan, and then actually, you know, that all benefits all of us anyway, so it's important for us just as much as it is for everybody else, so. That, I was pleased to get, I talked to Danielle a lot about future things, so it's good.
Thanks a lot.
Yep,
The taser replacement?
no, not this year.
Where did that?
So that's it for capital.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah,
That's
that's the
it for
rest of
capital.
capital light. I think I mentioned the capital light in my notes, just because the armory was, but again, not that we discussed in this forum. But I wanted to point out the armory thing, the humidity in the armory is important, but.
So that's the third thing on the list. Now, capital light changed a bit. There's several things that are no longer on there because we were able to fund them
Yeah.
elsewhere.
So, okay.
So the third request would be the armory refurbishment. Now, to start off, the armory is a very small room. It's not very big. Originally, it was not set up to store ammunition and weapons sufficiently. And it didn't have the necessary dehumidification system. And because of that, a lot of the items in there, which are very expensive items, rifles, handguns, bullets, rusted. So we decided this year to kind of revamp it, purchase proper cabinets that can lock, even though it's in a locked armory, and a dehumidification system that will suffice that room. And all in all, it comes to $7,500. And it's probably protecting.
Some longevity, and there is a workspace in there, so, you know, weapon malfunctions, we have issues cleaning, et cetera. You know, we just need a better work area, to be able to prolong the life of, you know, the weapons that we use and make sure that they don't deteriorate when they're not being used. There are some spares in there, et cetera, but we need to take care of our equipment, and that's the best way to do that.
All armories are climate controlled, and this one is not. And we've had issues, and they've tried to adjust the ventilation system, and it's just not working. The bottom line is our armorers actually looked at other armories in other departments, and we just need to do this with the proper cabinets, that the rifles can actually be stored in the upright position, you know, and stuff like that. And then the dehumidification is huge. And that's not really a big machine or anything, because the room is so small, but it's a system that monitors the room and the humidity in the room, and it just keeps it at the right levels and stuff. That's capital light, yes.
That'll be.
Yeah, because they,
All right,
that
don't
was
worry about
actually,
that.
protecting a lot of,
Expensive.
expensive equipment
Right.
is a good idea, yeah.
Not protecting, but, you know, you want it to have proper function.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you want it to work when you need it, right?
Well,
Gun jammer when we.
we've had issues already with some of the equipment rusting and
Well, that's
had to
what
replace
scares
pieces
me
of
when I
pipe
hear,
and stuff.
the lieutenant saying, you know, the rusting equipment. I'm like,
Right,
"Geez Louise."
So Adam, you did the interview. Do you have any other questions or issues that we
No, I
need
think
to chat?
Yeah, again, I think we went through a lot of the detail, but I know that from our discussion, I recall, you know, the fencing is a tough year.
Yeah.
To be asked, but I think it's important to get it out there because, you know, phasing or doing it over a couple of years might make some good sense. But I don't know, but no other questions. I appreciate you guys taking the time to meet with me this morning.
there's one other item, the capital light, if you notice it, the police communication equipment. And this is something that a lot of departments have purchased already, and what it is, it's called a plumb box plumb scout box. And really what it comes down to is it's a portable cell tower. So perfect example of this is when we have the beach party. And there's all these officers down there, including firefighters and everything else. The radio signals and everything, they're not good down there. this would improve it.
Essentially, it's a booster.
It's a booster. And it also is very good. This is also good for a police, fire. It could be good for a lot of people because it boosts phones. Anybody who's in a command area or any type of event. But what's really good about it is it's can be protected as well. In other words, you can actually assign who uses it and who doesn't, like it could be password protected. And it's for the most part, you know, a lot of departments already have these. And a lot of times they're used where the infrastructure is knocked out for whatever reason. In a bad storm. And what this does, it allows, say for instance, we had a bad storm, whether it be a blizzard or a hurricane or something, and we had a situation where the Gurnett area was all flooded. Well, police, we could have this down there and police and fire would be able to communicate.
You know how it works?
So that's where I should have brought Nick. It basically it works off. It's like a cell tower, basically. It's an independent tower that sends a signal without using the towers.
So it's basically the higher device, so.
Well, it comes in a box and you have to set it up.
What's its power source?
It has its own,
Battery. or
yes, it has its own rechargeable battery.
Another instance where it would be helpful is when we had a swatting incident out at the school, everything was jammed up. There were so many people that were trying to use the signal. And so other agencies responded. It's just a nice little thing to have if you put up a command post or if you have to do mobile operations. Just assist in your, comms, communications are your number one priority.
Right.
Everybody's gonna talk to each other, and this would just aid in that and be a backup.
There's no cell service on there anyway.
I was
think
gonna
it's
say,
that's why-
really
President,
important.
so we
This
already
is-
know we
this
don't have
is-
cell service.
Yeah.
This is the reason why Lieutenant Jamali brought this to my attention is because he's the operations entity, he's done a lot of these events and stuff, and actually Fred has over the years. Where you're doing these events and you have no cell communications or the radios aren't working. This here's the solution.
It'd be interesting to know how it works, because I might need one in my house.
Well, you actually, they do sell small little units for independent residential.
We can borrow one and let us borrow it.
If it doesn't work, let me know.
You know, Starlink's gonna be the next thing too, that, you know, you can get, basically you get cell service from the satellites. That's coming next, but I really think this is important for the schools, especially that area.
Yeah, and I would say for me.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
There's no cell towers on the water.
Oh, my
Yes.
gosh, yeah.
So I apologize, Jake, I should have thought, there's a good example. I mean, if something, God forbid, happened way out in the harbor or something, and Jake was out there and, police fire had to go out there and you've got nothing. All you have to do is take this little suitcase and set it up and
Sounds too good to be true.
it does, doesn't it? But apparently it works. This is nothing, this isn't new. This is, departments are using this all over, I mean, obviously, like, a lot of bigger departments have already used it and. Yeah, other than that, that's,
I have a question. Do you use the first net?
yes,
And so
I do.
that doesn't help at all in terms of giving you preferential treatment during an emergency on lines?
it does a little bit, it does a little bit.
But the good
It-
news is you do have first net, so it's a
Yes,
tool. Okay.
In addition.
it does work. This here is a guarantee that you have the signal, and like I said, if the infrastructure is knocked out, you're gonna have something.
Before you go, thank you for your service, and I have a question about the EV vehicles. What
Yes.
was your take? You said all the bad things about it. Are there any good things you can say?
They are saving gas.
Okay,
I mean, the one thing that a lot of the officers complained about, not just from Duxbury, a lot of other departments as well, is the way first of all, a lot of times you don't know they're running. They shut down, you don't even know they're running. funny story, when we first got our first one, the officer parked it out back. And when he took his equipment out, he just thought the vehicle was off. He left it, next officer goes to the next shift, and he's like, Officer such and such left the car running. Didn't even know, so they're aware of it now, but
Turn out the
What-
lights when you
Yeah,
leave.
there's a learning curve.
there's a learning curve. Another issue with it, it's very touchy, peppy, like
Oh,
it
it's very
jumps.
heavy, yeah, these
They
cars.
jump, they're not a smooth takeoff, you know,
Excellent.
they,
So you might consider purchasing them again in the future.
yes, I'd like to see what Ford is going to do with it. Now, Chevy says the Blazer is gonna be a hybrid.
Yeah.
So we'll see with that. Like I said,
Like a full EV or a hybrid, we're saying a hybrid.
it's gonna, the Chevy wants to make the Blazer hybrid police vehicle. So, and they've already sent out pictures of it and everything, like trying to sell it already. So it's good competition, I'm telling you. Ford and Chevy right now are neck and neck. They're
What's the
fighting.
basic Ford? Is it an Explorer?
Yeah, it's an Explorer, but it's lower to the ground and it's an all-wheel drive. They don't make,
I have a 2016 Explorer, it's, yes, it used to be a lot better.
but the
It's a
problem with
lot
Ford,
more than-
problem with Ford is they're making these police vehicles, but they're not four-wheel drive, and they keep on making all-wheel drive, as much as the police departments are saying. Can you make it as four-wheel drive? And they're like, well, we can't and get the performance out of it, and we're like, well, Chevy's doing it with the Tahoes, and now they're gonna do it with the Blazer. So, you know, so, I don't know.
Can I ask a question? Sorry, I'm really like, I'm sorry I'm not there and I'm sorry to keep bugging you, but the lion's share, not lion's share, but a good portion of the cost for the Tahoe is the lighting, right? The accessory that you have to put on it.
The upfit, the
Is it-
cage, you know.
Yeah, is there any advantage to not going through the Tahoe dealer and shopping that out for a third party that does it? Like, I think state police do it that way.
We do. First of all, the vehicle itself comes off a state bid, so we're set on the price with that. But as far as the upfit goes, we take it to a private. Small little shop. We have several of them. The one we're using now is in Raynham. Where is that?
Oh,
Walpole. We're using one now in Walpole. There's none locally. We were using Colonial Ford, which was CMG. And they weren't too expensive, but the quality wasn't as good. And we had a lot of issues, like you get a brand new vehicle and half the stuff wasn't working. So we've been talking to other departments and stuff, because we share all this information. We actually started using this company in Walpole. It was a company, Island Tech, we were using for the longest time, and then they moved to Rhode Island. So it's just too far. So we are using a third party. It's definitely cheaper, and a lot of times they do a better job because it's their reputation is on the line. So it's good,
I specifically
That-
work on
right?
just upfitting cruisers, they're not doing a bunch of other different things. The priority is, you know, that and just that.
Thanks.
If anybody's got any questions, feel free to email me or anything like that. That or if you have anything, let me know.
Yeah, thanks, Chief, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Keep reading online. Brian Monahan,
How you doing? Good evening.
good evening.
You're able to hear me okay?
Can you see us okay? Can you hear us okay?
Absolutely. I've been listening in.
Good.
First, I want to apologize. I honestly thought this was a remote only, or I would have just stuck around for a while and come to the meeting. So I apologize, but we can. I think we can handle this fine remotely. Okay.
It'll be, go for it.
Okay, first thing I want to bring to your attention, I sent this off to Adam, and he said he was going to share it with the crew. And I wanted to talk about what we're not going to ask you for, because I think this is important. Last year, when I came to you, one of the things on my request list was to replace our 6x6. If you remember, approximately 15 years ago, we wrote a grant. We got a 6x6, which is used down the beach. It's used in the woods. but it's seen its useful life. It needs to be replaced. But we were looking at a $50,000 item. And I said, let's take that off. I'm going to try to seek alternative funding. So we got that. We got $50,000 to replace that and the trailer, and that should be coming in. The funding should be coming in within the next month. So I didn't ask for it last year, and we took it off this year. If you saw the list, these are all the things that we've worked on in the last year to get funding for, so we don't need to come to you, including a gym. Firefighter's gym that was set to be put in the fire station when it was first built, but it got cut, so it was never equipped. So we went out and we got funding for that. Structural fire boots, we had an $18,000 grant. Shelter supplies, $5,000 grant. The station is now 12 years old. We needed some new conference room furniture. We got almost $3,000 for that. We were lucky to work with the sheriff's department. They came in and actually redid the back of our annex. They painted, they did siding, the gutters, everything. They did a great job, and that we put a cost of savings of about $8,000. We just replaced some radios that we needed. We got funding through 911 for $75,000. Computers for the trucks, about $4,000. And then you probably saw on my capital request this year, I had $65,000 for an EKG machine and $18,000 for CPR. Those can both be taken off. I got funding for both of those items, which is good. So those are two more things I'm not coming to you for. We got all the parking lots finally replaced, parking lot lights and interior lights, much more energy efficient. We worked with Eversource, and they were able to split the cost of that with us. So those are some of the things we've worked on. So capital, we're coming to you for one item. We're looking to replace a staff car, and listening to Chief Carbone, very similar. We like the Tahoes. That's what we want to replace it with. And there's very specific reasons why we need a Tahoe. First off is the amount of equipment. If you've ever come to the fire station and seen the back, it's loaded top to bottom. A tremendous amount of equipment we need to carry as firefighters. Additionally, the clearance from snow to sand, the Tahoe is far superior to the Ford. And then finally is the trailers. If you've seen at our station, we have several trailers that we need to be able to tow, and the Tahoes allow us that flexibility to tow them. We keep our vehicles as long as possible. We try to get the life to be extended, and we don't replace them until we need to. And this vehicle needs to be replaced. It's a 2018. It will have over 100,000 miles. It will have over 7,000 hours of use by the time we replace it. We have a plan that we would like to hand this down. We've already talked to the beach, and they're very interested in this vehicle. And it still has life for that secondary, not on the road all the time type of vehicle. We rely on these regularly, and we need them to work all the time. So the price tag that we're looking at, we put in for 72. We're going to reuse equipment. We're going to radios, computer, all that will be transferred over. The lighting will definitely have to be new, but we've stepped it down a bit, and we've tried to make this price as reasonable as possible. We really sharpened our pencil when we put together this project. And I was going to try to come in a little bit lower, but I was afraid, depending on where the new Tahoe pricing comes in, that we might sell ourselves short. So I went up just a little bit to cover us.
Chief, quick question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you bound by any kind of regulation in terms of what you can or you can't use in your lighting package on your vehicles?
No, we're not. On the bigger trucks, on the engines and the ambulances, there's very specific rules as far as what we have to do, but on the command cars, not the same. And I would gladly open up communication if anybody would like to ask any questions.
First off, I want to say thank you. I did circulate the items that you had funded with alternative sources to the crew, and
Yes.
to me, so Chief Reardon writes all of his own grants too, which is, and we all know that's kind of an art form of being able to do that and expressing a need without making it sound too desperate. But EKG thing, I know we talked about that. Where did that funding come from?
Sure. So I just want to stop you right there. I used to write a lot of the grants, but this is a team effort. So Deputy Monahan does a lot. We have a whole team. Everybody really pitches in on this. I couldn't do it all myself, so I appreciate the kudos. I used to do it years ago, but this is definitely a team effort. So back to the EKG machine. That's actually through opioid funding. So there was an opioid settlement, and we're using that funding to pay for both that EKG machine and CPR device, which is definitely going to be a help.
That's really good. That's the first time I've heard opioid funds going to something like that. It makes perfect sense. How many of your vehicles are four-wheel drive versus all-wheel drive?
We have all of the Tahoes are four-wheel drive. We cannot use two-wheel drive, especially, you know, when this town gets hit with storms, all these trucks are running, and we need to make sure we're able to get through this heavy snow.
Other questions, comments? Kudos.
Yeah, I just, gonna add what Adam said. I was very pleased, shared with my husband, when he sent around that slide. I'm like, look at all this, this grant writing that the fire department has done. So, it's, there's some money out there, and when people can access it, it's great benefit to the town. So thank you again.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Chief, do you want to run a course in your training session for the police and the harbor master?
Hey, Jake's coming up next. He does a good job too.
I was just going to say that Jake is a master too. And I think at some point you got to look at what's available. Maybe we have more grants available than the police do or the harbor master, but we try to not come to you unless we absolutely need something. And that's why we're coming with a Tahoe. We really need one. And I want to go further into the crystal ball of the future of what we're looking at, because it's important to look at what we've put off. So in here, I put our next 5 years. So I want you to understand that last year we were due for a new engine. That new engine is 1.2 million. So we didn't do it last year. So we pushed it off to this year. And we looked at it and we said, do we really need it right now? Or is there another avenue? So we made the decision, let's put it off and let's try for a grant. So that's what we're doing now, is we're trying for a grant to see if we can get this paid for. That would pay for approximately 95% of that engine, but we have to see if we can get it. Now, back years ago, when I wrote the brush truck grant, that took me 3 tries to get. So we're going to give it a shot and we're going to see what happens. And if not, I'm probably going to have to come to you next year, because that engine is going to be 31 years old. And the average delivery for these trucks is 4 years. So you're going to be at 35 or 36 years. And that goes back to the reason of, why am I asking for these ambulances early, which we did last year? Because they're 3 years before we get it. The last Tahoe we got was a year to get. And so this Tahoe, yeah, right now we're 7 years. It's going to be 8 years old. It's going to have over 100,000 miles. It's seen a lot of frontline use. And this is the only avenue we have to replace it. And we've sharpened our pencils as best we can to make it palatable for you.
Chief, if I'm wrong, please correct me, but you had 2 of these brush breakers a number of years ago.
Yes.
You gave up one and replaced it with something that wasn't quite like a brush breaker, but was a more functional vehicle in terms of off-road kind of functionality.
Yes. So that was Chief Nord's decision. So we have 2 brush breakers, and Deputy, just help me with the date. Those are 88s, right? 1988?
Yeah, both were bought in '88.
Okay, so we bought 2 of those in 1988. They've had considerable work done on them. And so approximately 4 years ago, Chief Nord came to you with a decision that he wanted to replace it with a brush truck / engine to do more wildland urban interface. It's a higher truck to help us get to those flooded areas. So that was a decision that was made, and we would replace one of those older brush breakers. So we put that in place, and we still have not got that truck. We're now 4 years into this. We're hoping that the truck will arrive next year, maybe somewhere in the first quarter, but I can't guarantee that. So everything that we're seeing on our end have huge delays. But yes, one of those brush breakers will go. We have been told this year, when the state inspectors came, that these trucks are not going to pass inspection. There's just way too much rust. Think about what these trucks do. If you look at the run total over the 30, 40 years that we've had these trucks, there's not a high run count. The mileage isn't high, but when those trucks are needed, they're needed. And not only are they fighting brush fires, but they're in there and they're driving through flooded waters. They're out there, you know, in heavy, heavy snow. We use those trucks to get to people's houses and to get people out, get them to ambulances. So they're multifunctional.
Have you had conversations with DPW about the undercoating that they're talking about doing? Do you think
Sure.
there's value for your equipment with that too?
Sure, we'll talk to Mary about that, and I'll let the deputy talk a little bit about it, because that's actually one of his specialties.
Yeah, so for the undercoating, there are some vehicles it would benefit. Um, some of the engines we have, they're galvanized frame anyway, so we try to get it right out of the gate to even prevent rust without to put anything on it. But yes, for some of the smaller vehicles, some of that undercoating, when that vehicle is new to apply it then, is definitely could increase the longevity of that vehicle for a minimal cost.
Good. And the other question I had, Chief, was on your ambulance funds. You know,
Yes.
again, when you delay it, you're getting a little bit more, but how are you feeling about, I'm using the word retained revenue, which isn't really probably right, but you know, how do you feel your billable and then the revenue that's going into that fund to be able to replace the next ambulance? Are you happy with how that's going? Do you feel like, you know, we've hit a good number to be able to take out the pain of the cost of a new ambulance by keeping your revenue you're generating into some type of a retained fund?
Sure, great question. So if you remember, last January, we made the decision to raise the rates. And we did that through a study. We didn't just arbitrarily raise rates. We did it based on doing a study of all Plymouth County towns, and we wanted to be in that middle. And that's where we are. So we raised our rates considerably to get to that middle ground. So we're coming up on that year time where we're going to start to see how we made out our first year, but we are seeing more money come in. If your question is in regards to that, we only see a certain amount of money come in and go towards ambulances. The majority goes to the general fund, which I understand. But here's my pitch, no different than the pitch Chief Nord said, is we're running a service, and it's important that we somehow are able to put money towards the service that we're running. And the example I'm going to use is just today. Let's just take today. It's an easy one. Probably about 10 o'clock this morning, we responded to a medical. So they respond to the medical, 2 people in the ambulance, 2 firefighter paramedics, take the person to the hospital. As they're going to the hospital, now we get a call for a very serious motor vehicle accident on the highway, traumatic. So now the rest of the firefighters we have left on duty with paramedics respond up there. Very serious call. I need 2 people in the back of the ambulance and I need a driver also. At the same time, now we get a call for a tree that has come down on a person, crushing him, and is now trapped. I'm out of people. We are running at levels just above 1979 as far as staffing goes. We don't have the depth to cover these calls. So while we're responding to that, I have an off-duty person coming to help me. I respond. I leave a meeting at town hall to go to it. I get there. We now need med flight. So now we're calling in other towns to help us. We need med flight. We need a landing zone established. What happens now? Another medical call comes in. We have nobody left. So now we have to rely on Kingston and Pembroke. What happens next? Another medical call comes in. Nobody left still. So we have to rely on other towns. I tell you this because this happens on a regular basis in this town. We lack the staff to respond to multiple calls, and more calls are happening here because we're seeing more and more people. So if the question was about funding, I know this is going to be a tough year for the town. But for us, one of our most important things is we need the people to respond. They have to be trained, and we need the right equipment to respond. And I think for me, this year, the Tahoe is definitely what we need to see for the department.
I am really pushing the limits today. I swear to God, I'm usually quiet, but for some reason I have tons of questions. So
That's okay.
here with me.
Sure.
What's your response time and for the most part when you're getting a call and heading out to a call?
First call?
Yeah,
The first call, usually probably within four or 5 minutes.
Yeah, okay. So like I call now 911, you come to me. What is your average response time in town, not competing with not having staff or an ambulance? You're just able to take it.
I have a whole data sheet on that, but we're looking at about 4 to 6 minutes. It really
Okay.
depends on where you're located in town. But what I always say, and I said this to FinCom, is I said, listen to this one, Karen. So we're up on the highway. Let's say we're on the highway right now. Think of us just south of Marshfield, south of 27, the old exit, the old exit 12.
Yeah.
And now you call. I don't know how quick we can get there. That's what we're dealing with, unfortunately. That's what we see on a regular basis. And the problem is, just take the highway. We're out there almost every single day. We need to respond with an engine, an ambulance, and a captain. We're cutting people out of cars. We have multiple patients. These are very serious crashes up there. And that's just one example of what we're doing. Last question.
I
Yeah,
swear to God, to all
That's
the committee
okay.
members out there, I'm so sorry, but this is really interesting stuff. Are you getting any closer to being able to doing the mobile integrated health, working with a hospital licensure where you can go out, provide some of that good care at home and bill it? No.
No. And here's the reason why. It's kind of a backstory, but I'll spill it to you. So that's something that we've been working on. Chief Nord started it, and I took over. I'm working with our EMS manager, Kirsten Piper. But the problem is the county treasurer awarded $1 million to Brewster Ambulance and a private entity, along with the BI, and they're running their old MIH, and they cut us right out of it. So I've been fighting it since that came about. So the way I look at it, MIH is a very big future part of our departments in our towns, not just us. And we need to be involved in it, because if we're not, we're going to see a lot of private entities come in. And here's the thing: how can they support that? I don't know if they can. And the reason I say that is, let's say that you're in one of the MIH programs right now, and we lose power, and you're relying on all sorts of power to run the equipment that they're bringing at your house. If we don't have any knowledge of that stuff, we're going to lack the ability to respond to it. So I think that there needs to be more involvement, and the fire departments, I know the fire chiefs are very involved, and we're actually getting on a committee to try to figure this out for the future.
Good luck. Thanks.
Thank
Sorry,
you. You're welcome.
that was triggering question. I didn't mean to take you into a bad
No,
spot there, but
no, it's
thank
okay.
you.
It's all good. You're welcome.
Any other questions, comments, issues? Chief, you're doing a great job.
Yeah, great job.
Thank you.
For your and your
have
staff too.
Yeah, we have a great team. It's honestly, they work very, very hard. They're responding to a lot of calls. We appreciate the town support. And if anybody wants to come down and see that Tahoe we're looking to replace, or why we use them, or have questions, please feel free to email me. I'd love to talk to you more about it. I appreciate your support.
You have a side issue which you pushed on when you talked about relying on the local towns around us for help and assistance. Should the EMT kind of responses from the town management viewpoint be more of a regional function rather than a town function, so that you have a committed access, a committed support from a number of different towns? Now don't answer the question, because I'm really thinking about it in terms of the logistics and efficiency issues.
Okay, so that was just you don't want me to say anything?
Yeah.
Okay.
Think about the role of a regional EMT kind of function rather than a town-based function.
Don't
Okay,
we
I'll think
kind
about
of
it.
have that with mutual aid? Isn't that kind of what mutual aid is?
We kind of do. And if you think about in the last day, I actually just wrote this up because I had a meeting. In the last day, we have gone mutual aid to 3 or 4 communities. And then in the last day, we have also brought in about the same amount of mutual aid. The problem is this area is exploding in growth, and the call volume is incredible. So the problems I tell you are not unique to Duxbury. Pembroke is dealing with it. Kingston's dealing with it. So Kingston might have a problem tonight where they're going to need us a couple times, just like I needed them today multiple times to come over and help us and bail us out. So there's multiple ways to look at this. Chief Nord had told you about this many times. Every time another ambulance comes into our town and transports, that revenue goes to them. So we lose out on that if we're not able to take care of and service our own customers. Something to think about. We grew too fast. We have 3 ambulances, but we can't staff 3 ambulances. I rely on people coming back. So there's plenty of times I'm running 3 ambulances, but it's by people coming from their homes. And here's a number to think about. Last year, 245 times people came from their houses to cover calls. That's how many times we need to call people back. So 2 out of every 3 days, we bring people from their houses to come back and cover calls because we're too busy.
Is that cheaper? Is that on an overtime?
Yes, overtime.
That's on overtime.
Thank you very much. We'll see you next year, if not sooner.
Thank you, chief.
Thank you.
Have a good night,
Thank you all.
everyone. Take care.
Good luck. Good luck, Jake. I warmed him up for you, buddy.
Thank you.
Jake Emerson, how are you?
I'm great. You want me to, I have a slideshow. Can I?
If you know how to do it, go
Well,
for it.
I didn't say that. I said- Hope this isn't a virus, but I'll put it in there and see what happens.
I'd love to hear.
Do you have a picture, do you have a picture of the
Everything
caller? Is it there? Yeah.
should be, well, we'll see. I don't know.
That spongy part around,
Now, look,
around the boat, and so,
Bump into safely.
yeah.
On.
Exactly. But I mean, it sounds like it's a little bit more rigid than,
okay,
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
permanent fender.
now look at this. This is,
Yeah. So when I was supposed. Then I got the.
All right.
When it is.
I think you just have to click share on Zoom,
oh, I don't,
I think, right?
Yeah.
Share screen.
Get a chair for Karen.
So bring it to it's in the background there somewhere.
Yeah.
And
That button right
share
there.
screen.
oh, all right.
And click on the screen you want to share. There it is. That's it.
Did I do it? Oh, share.
Click on it. Yeah.
There you go.
All right,
Eric,
look at
Eric,
this.
Do you see the screen?
You see that, Karen? Yeah, good thumbs up, I think.
Okay. Look at that. Isn't that pretty?
Well done.
Thanks. My wife would be really proud of me. She's a teacher. So, I have 3 projects. Originally was 4, but I'm now down to, 3. The first, is everybody's favorite boat, the boat of many conversations. Is the, former police boat, now harbor master boat. This one, last fiscal year, was supported to get new outboard engines. And this is to replace this is the collar, it's the part along the back of the side of the boat. And a bow cover, and to replace the decking on the actual this goes all the way around up here, so it's, I mean, I'm pretty self-explanatory. It's peeling apart and it just needs replaced. It's very slick, so it's when it gets wet, which is kind of all the time when you have it like that, but, these are original to the boat, so this is a 2004 safe boat, which was decommissioned from the Coast Guard, then inherited by the police department, and now, with us. They also retired this style of collar. These collars are now, instead of this, it's called like a rhino collar. It's no longer this style. It's a foam collar, but it's got a vinyl cover around the outside of it. So shipping is substantially cheaper to do this, because otherwise you'd have to ship this whole piece, which is 25 feet whole across the country. This they can basically, it's like those mattresses you can order online where they just expand. That's how they do it now. This project, so the collar, the decking all in is about $60,000. I wish I was as successful as Rob was. I did apply for port security grant for this last year. We were not successful in being awarded, but again, I will keep applying, and if it's open before this comes available, I will continue to keep applying for those grants.
You mentioned that the grants, a lot of it was focused on waterways and other, things that weren't specific.
So there was,
to equipment.
yeah, and keep in mind when we talk about port security, one of the things is it's not just the type of infrastructure like this, it's like cybersecurity. So for shipping and LNG, that's the focus that we're, for the past 2 years, they've been putting their focus on is cybersecurity for marine tracking and things like that. Happy to answer any questions.
Did you say the collar, the 60 or the collar in the decking?
Collar and the decking all in the 60.
Would it make sense to go to like an aqua traction on the deck or?
So that's funny you mentioned that. So we looked at, what it's called, C deck.
See that, it's a concept.
It's substantially more expensive and I think that would be great if it were in a format. They're great for anti-fatigue and things like that. The only issue is that's better for some, if you're not wearing shoes. So if we're wearing boots and stuff like that on a daily basis, you're gonna be tearing that thing up and then it's cost prohibitive for maintenance on something like that. These, while fairly expensive stickers, but once you do it, those are, you can see some of them have been replaced over the years. But that's where you step down in those, where's the slippery, but the idea is to do it all at once, so you all get the same traction.
This is a pretty old boat, and I
It
see
is.
Marshfield, 'cause I'm a Taylor Marine, so I've
Yeah.
got both boats across the dock for me. They seem to be fairly new. Is there grants coming out where you can get a whole new?
So they were awarded a grant, yeah.
Yeah.
We were awarded a brand new boat in 2010 and then
Yeah.
2012.
Yeah.
We could apply for that, but that boat is at around $300,000.
Yeah.
And I'm looking for more low hanging fruit. I'm looking for let's just give this guy $60,000 for a collar. Whereas you're trying to put a lot more in, I think I have a better shot at getting those
Yeah.
grants than I am a brand new 33-foot safe
You've
boat.
got the new motors on this boat.
Not yet,
Oh,
Um,
still don't have the motors yet.
no, so that was a procurement issue. And I don't know if you pick up the clipper, you can find out, anybody who's interested can bid on 2 engines, but hopefully we'll have those this year. But yeah, that's the plan. Any other questions about that? I'm not going anywhere, so if you do have any questions.
I do
So-
have a question, Jake, can that be funded through your waterways?
Yeah, so I spoke with Mary before the meeting and she was sorry she couldn't be here, but she had there's another meeting tonight that she's at. But her recommendation is all the projects here are to be funded out of waterways improvement funds. I should have mentioned that before, I guess.
Good, thank you.
And this one picture, hopefully we'll be able to illustrate all of the next projects. So the next project is to replace the town float chain moorings for the main, for all the moorings and chains. I don't know when I did that, but, okay. Are you guys familiar how this is the town float, how this works? So the way this is set up, there's 2 moorings that one goes out, man. It is a touchscreen apparently. This is an adjacent screen, I'm gonna call it now. So it's goes from this corner up that way, this corner that way. So 2, there's 4, 6, 8. Oh, this is chains and everything. So, but let's just do moorings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's 8. This was all done in 2016 when we had dredging. It needs to be done because things in the water are not getting any better. So they've reached their useful life.
The chains and the moorings?
Everything comes out, yeah. The idea is you do it all at once, you're
Yeah.
pulling everything out of the water and putting it all new. Now, this might be an older picture, but these were replaced. This has been replaced. And then the additional main float, these were again supported last year. But inevitably, I've come back to you again because I don't have enough money from the time I get a quote, the time I get approval. I don't have enough money to pay for the floats. So it's only $8,000 more dollars. That's how much it went up in a year, but. So that's I think I don't, well, I can tell you. The chain float in, the chain and moorings is 45,000 and the main float is an additional $8,500.
You're talking about it's 8 moorings and chains, right? If I
Yes.
got that right.
8 moorings and then there's, 8 moorings and chain. But there's also no moorings that run to the town piers. So there's an additional length of chain that goes this way, chain that goes this way, chain that goes this way.
So 8 moorings and
Lots of chains.
that's 12 chains.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
14 chains, thank you.
Jake, when was the last time did you say that the chains had been replaced?
So they were replaced when we dredged, so it would have been brand new in 2015, 2016.
And is there any benefit to staggering this versus doing a replacement all at once? Because that's gonna mean kind of replacing it on the same cycle all at once at a bigger nut than doing it a few a year.
Yeah, I will say that logistically, the idea of having to do it at all makes me anxious because I have to do any of it. But doing it this way, make sure that everything is set at the same time and I don't have to worry about logistically bringing somebody back in and having it incorrect and have to redo it.
What is the next dredge?
That's a great question. So the Army Corps of Engineers, I reached out to them and then they said, fill out this friendly little survey and we'll be in touch, which means we're not on the dredge cycle. That doesn't mean that we're not gonna, the squeaky wheel doesn't get the grease and we're gonna keep going for it, but the idea is to do it now because it was 20 years between dredge cycles before.
Okay, you're coming on 10 now.
We're coming up on 10.
2015, 16, coming on 10.
So ideally, we'd like to do it a lot sooner.
Okay.
They did do a dredge survey last year, last spring, and so I do have new, they give you it's filling in, and the northeast corner is substantial as always, because it comes from Bluefish and silts in that corner. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but that's where it fills in the most.
You have a lot more sand on the barrier beach too, that can float over too.
Yeah. Hopefully we have it.
So any
Yeah.
kind of advantage as an economic development conversation because of the oyster farming and scallop and so forth in the bay, does that help us at all with
Yeah,
consideration
that
for dredging?
that definitely gives us, when you say you have a multi-million-dollar industry in your bay, it does help, but in terms of dredging, they need to hear deep hull vessels. That's the key phrases. So unless we're bringing in, LNG tankers and, back in the day it was gypsum by boat, you're not really in the same ballpark. That funding is better. I mean, that we could leverage that when you talk about Seaport Economic Council money, but my understanding is based on the vote taken this week, that may not be an option going forward. Because it would be I believe it's one of those areas that they would not support, if you didn't do the MBTA community.
Which we'll see when we get through the lawsuit. Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, yeah,
Thank you very much.
that's,
Any other questions, anxieties?
How big are those moorings you putting down?
they're 800 pound.
If I mean, you looked at helixes?
So that'd be great if we weren't if the harbor didn't need to be dredged as much. And then you need somebody to actually remove them and, so you'd send a diver. So we looked at,
I have boats on a lake, so but it's so weird. They're telling me I gotta change my chains like every 5 years, and I'm on a freshwater lake. Wait a minute.
So we change our mooring chain, well, so not the town, like, not the town floats and things like that. What we do is we change those every 3 years. Those are on 3 years.
Change. Yeah,
These are substantially larger chains
yes.
than your typical mooring
Oh,
chain.
these
So
are-
these are, yeah, these are holding the
Yeah.
floats in, they're so strong that they pull the timbers out from the bottom of the float.
Because there's some really bad boat operators.
Sometimes get
a little
heavy on that dock. I'm like, oh, that's what I need on my boat.
Not the blue, don't get the blue one.
Pumping and stuff.
If you ever want to see that, right now it's at the DPW, so you can see, I have the green hull, the green collar safe boat is down in the water right now. And the blue one is out, so anytime you want to see the difference between the actual physical, structure of the collars, you can check them both out anytime. I'd be more than welcome to show you around. Should I do stop share?
Stop share.
Look at
There you
that.
go.
Thank you for the presentation. That's really helpful.
Yeah, it was-
Well, again, my wife would be kind of upset because there was no, what is it? Shadowing, things like that.
Looks pretty good to
I
me.
think it looked great.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I guess
if
if
we were all impressed.
if you were eighth graders, I'd probably need support like.
Yeah, I don't know.
Stuff like that.
Could you share that presentation with
Absolutely,
us
yes.
electronically too?
Can do that.
And I think that's our.
did you give those quotes in the order of your priorities?
Yes.
I'm marking 1 and 2. I had minutes I circulated, you had minutes you circulated, I think we did your
No,
minutes. so
I
that's
think
in-
it's, we did Candace's last. It's just your minutes, I
Okay,
think are the
good.
only open.
Send them around to everybody, if there's any questions or improvements you wanna make on them, please speak up, otherwise I'll consider a motion for approving them.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
I
6.
think I have to abstain because I wasn't at the meeting.
How's your?
I have 701.
Yeah.
There should be a 2 in there somewhere. Well, Alex isn't here.
Right.
Next meeting is next week. I don't have the agenda.
Are we really meeting next week?
No, I don't know. No, that's
So that's
Thanksgiving.
the
Thanksgiving.
Wednesday.
Yeah, I
That's
don't think we have it
Thanksgiving.
That's Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah, Thanksgiving Eve.
Thanksgiving.
Take a look.
That's to take your kids out.
That's what I have is December 4th.
I will not be in attendance for that one.
December 4th
So
is
I
the-
don't know if it's been changed, but December 4th at 6 o'clock, it looked like we were trying to move towards final recommendations. And,
Yes.
but maybe we're off.
Well, I don't think we've heard everything, have we?
Yeah, I don't think so. So that's why I'm thinking maybe we are like off a week or so because that was what the goal and hope I think was on these Wednesdays, but that's what I have in my notes for right now.
You folks last week, we were supposed to talk it and they never showed up.
I was hoping before we do final recommendations, that we got that spreadsheet that Mary gave us last
She's
year.
still
which had
working on it.
all- Really hard to see the magnitude of all the different departments' requests without that.
I think she's still working.
I think we need that. Before we can do it.
Well, let's do the following. I'll raise the issue with Alex and Mary and see what we can come up with for an agenda. Anything that we missed
Well,
because
we
people.
I was, no, who didn't show up last week? Was it just, schools was here,
We did
Yes.
skills.
but not facilities?
You did facilities.
No, we do facilities, yeah.
We've done facilities in 2 parts. The
Yeah,
big
we
part
did the
is in
DPW.
schools.
Yeah,
Twice,
right,
2 nights.
right, water and,
Let me see if it
Yeah.
was. I didn't see the schools.
I didn't see screens and facilities.
We did, when the schools did theirs, they included the facility part.
That's what I'm just.
Thanks, Jake.
Thanks again.
Thanks,
guys.
Jake. Have a good night.
Thank you very much.
Even on capital, schools are in kind of tough.
Well, I think it's, crazy that the schools are trying to put textbooks into capital.
Big curriculum.
That's,
I'm too new, I don't know.
I think that I think that, I mean, I understand why they're doing it. I just don't, I think it's such a dangerous precedent. I really hope we're not gonna set that precedent.
The way the story goes, is that, because of the decline in, MCAS scores, the schools were under some pressure to figure out what they're doing right or wrong, and they executed a couple of surveys and researches into the curriculums that they have for, elementary literacy and for, high school mathematics, and I think physics was in there too, math and physics, maybe, I don't remember. And so they found a contractor who's perfectly willing to sell them a 5-year plan for each of those, I think maybe 2 contractors. And each of them come in around 300,000, so they're looking for $650,000 to go out and buy the relationship with the contractor that provides the materials, the training, the education, and the follow through and evaluation over the course of 5 years. My problem is that, I think we have a number of PhDs in the management of the schools. And from where I sit, doctorates are supposed to be able to do research, but that's okay.
I just,
The question is whether or not there are SMEs in those particular fields that they're trying to.
but
Right.
And I don't know if I got it right, but was it answered in this regard? Like what's happening now, which would be the assistant superintendent basically oversees kind of like all curriculum, and then under maybe that hierarchy and structure, you then have department heads in the schools that take it down to the next level, and then they work collaboratively on interfacing of that curriculum. So that's how it's done now. And then teachers are involved, obviously. And I think Alex had a good question, which was, does something like this become difficult for the teacher to find their own voice? That's how he put it, which I thought was a good way. How much leeway is there with the teacher? But as it stands, there's a hierarchy right now within the district as a whole, to address curriculum and interfacing it, I guess, subject matter from grade to grade. And again, if I may have to be corrected on that if I misunderstood how she answered that question.
Well, I personally don't feel confident to be able to deal with the issue of the curriculums themselves. But the question is to whether there are operational costs or, I mean, if it's a 5-year program, why not pay for it over the course of 5 years? Department.
how about looking internally at your curriculum coordinators and say, this is where we need some area of improvement?
You're banging on my gavel here.
Yeah. But okay, all right. So that's, oh, I can make a motion to adjourn. Do we have any other things to discuss? Welcome.
Yeah.
It's nice to have you back.
Yeah. Nice to see you guys again.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
All those, raise your hand in favor, etc.